Out of all the characters we've met in the world of Chainsaw Man, we've seen some extremely powerful characters who strike fear into the hearts of anyone in their presence, but not all the strongest characters have a power that's right inside of your face. Whereas Denji has chainsaws coming out of his limbs and has the power to erase devils from existence, someone like Makima is just as dangerous and feared for a really good reason. That's why in today's Chainsaw Man video, we're going to be explaining why everyone's afraid of Makima, what her powers are, and why Makima is easily one of the deadliest characters we've seen out of this new generation of Shonen Jump. So why exactly is everyone afraid of Makima? Is she physically strong? Is she a mastermind who can manipulate people to no end? Is she overpowered? What exactly makes Makima so scary? Well, the answer is yes to all those previous questions. She's got physical strength. She uses her seduction to manipulate people, and if push comes to shove, she'll force you to do what she wants, and her powers are some of the most broken in the manga that we've ever seen. She possesses a level of manipulation that even without her powers, it makes her stand out amongst all the new gen antagonists that we have in Shonen Jump. But because she is the definition of a femme fatale, it's important to keep that in mind. But remember that for every femme fatale that you've seen, Makima is that type of character on steroids because of how she's written. So what exactly are her powers? Well, Makima's powers are those of the control devil, which gains its power from the fear of control and conquest. Due to Makima being feared by both humans and devils, her powers have risen to levels that have her knocking on the door of some of the most powerful devils that we have in the entire series. Every single country in the world of Chainsaw Man has people who fear control or conquest, but inside of those countries are people who specifically fear Makima because of her very existence, to the point where there have been those who tried to kill her and they failed terribly when they attempted to do so. Her power of domination allows her to control any person or any being that she believes is inferior to her. Once someone's placed under control, she can overwrite their personality to make them do things that they normally wouldn't do, and it's implied that while under Makima's control, the person will lose their memory. No one is safe from her powers. If you're a human, you're placed under her control. If you're a devil, you're placed under her control. If you're a fiend, you're under her control. And even if you're a hybrid like Denji, you are under her control. It's only been in a very rare instance, i.e. with Denji, where certain conditions had to be made before Makima could take control of Denji, but ultimately she was able to take control of him. Her power control doesn't just stop at making you do things you want to do. If that were the case, she wouldn't be viewed as nearly as scary as she is. So what else does this power of hers allow her to do? Well, her domination ability lets her use the abilities of those that she takes control of. She used the power of the future devil, the angel devil, the snake devil, the spider devil, and the zombie devil before. She even planned to use the powers of the Chainsaw Man to get rid of things like death and bad movies, which makes you go back to the original point. No one is safe from her power of control once she's able to sink her hooks inside of you. However, her power isn't just limited to, say, living things. She can even take control of dead people. It's bad enough that she can turn her enemies into her soldiers for defense. The fact that on top of changing personalities, the fact she can control the deceased shouldn't make you look at Makima as a threat, because if she got her hands on someone truly powerful who is deceased, Makima could control them. Her control power also comes with even more benefits, and this is one of my personal favorites about her because it highlights how truly scary Makima is. She can take the hearing from animals and others that she views as being beneath her. This means everything that's being spoken, if Makima borrows the hearing from, say, a fly on the wall, a rat in the corner, or even a cockroach in the room, Makima can hear everything. Anywhere on the planet is at risk, and this is what makes her so intriguing for me as a character. Those who know this power in regards to Makima, they get scared because her power to eavesdrop means that there are no secrets. Makima hears everything. Knowledge is power. Power is wielded by someone like Makima, creates more fear for Makima, which in turn makes her stronger. The only way around this is to write your words down on paper, because what's written down can't be heard by Makima. This means even someone using Morse code wouldn't work, because Makima could just figure out the patterns, which literally means that we are back to doing things that kids did in the 90s and the 2000s, which is write notes to speak to each other in secret. Sure, you could send a text message, but that message can be discovered if it's left on a phone, whereas a note can be burned up or torn up right away. Makima can also control a massive throng of rats that allows her to travel places while using them as well. Makima can also project her voice through others by establishing physical contact by touching their head, which again, this will include dead people. Doing something like this, it further extends her reach, but it also allows her to use the contract set up with whatever devil that the devil hunter has established that contract with. Now, if that isn't broken enough for you, she also has another power that is equally as dangerous as her ability to control. See, with the control powers, that wasn't necessarily brute force. That was more subtle, yet still direct, but this next power is actually more dangerous than the first one that we went over. Makima also has the power of force itself. That's right, force manipulation. And you might be confused, and if so, I'll explain to you what I mean. So Makima has offensive powers that grant her the powers of force manipulation. When she uses this power, Makima is able to inflict massive amounts of damage on her target's internal organs, their internal body, in general by simply looking at them. That's right, Makima is the literal physical embodiment of the expression, if only looks could kill. In this case, looks can kill. Even crazier is that she's shown with this skill with the power that she's doing stuff that you associate with Star Wars characters when they manipulate the Force. Similar to how, say, Darth Vader has crushed aircrafts with ease using the Force, Makima isn't super far off from that type of concept, and I'll explain to you how. So one thing we've seen her do is make an invisible force that is strong enough to crush her targets completely, and literally from a super long distance away, which means that standing in front of her isn't the only way this power can kill you. When Makima does decide to do this, Makima has to make a few preparations beforehand. She has to be on a higher ground. She has to have the name of her target, and she has to have human sacrifices ready to be used. And that last one, the human sacrifices, should make you start realizing how broken this is, because it's essentially life for life, and I'll explain how. So once Makima has these things in hand, she has to make a hand symbol, and she has to make the people being used as a human sacrifice put a white cloth over their eyes, and when they speak the target's name, once this happens, the human sacrifice drops dead. The target is crushed by the force manipulation immediately, to the point where they're just a lump of blood splatters. The more human sacrifices she has, the more people that Makima can kill off, which means in theory, Makima could just kill an entire army if she had no sacrifices, which is why you should be understanding why every country in the world fears her powers, and only the United States was willing to directly challenge her power in terms of all the countries in the world of Chainsaw Man. Makima continues to show how overpowered she is with this power in another way that she uses it. Makima can literally just point her index finger at you and shoot off an invisible force manipulation blast that can destroy your whole body before you realize it. Or if you have durability like the Chainsaw Man, she can hit you hard enough with it that she can literally send your body into outer space, and all she has to do while pointing that finger at you is say the word bang, though we don't know for absolute certainty if she has to say the word bang or if it's just a preference of hers, which in my opinion, I wouldn't put it past her to just prefer doing something like this, almost as if it's to psych out the person before she kills them. When Makima has people put on a black cloth over their eyes, Makima is able to slice off the heads of her enemy, even if they're a considerable distance away. Again, you can run, you can hide, you can whisper, but Makima can hear you, and she can kill you if she chooses to, and that very fear is the thing that continues to give Makima more power, which is why she's my favorite antagonist and why she's one of my favorite characters in the series. Now, if all that isn't crazy enough for you, then you'll want to sit down for this next one. So why else are people afraid of Makima? Well, killing her is a pretty hard thing to do. It's not impossible because we did see her die, but we don't see her stay dead except for one time at the end of part 1 of Chainsaw Man. The reason for this is that Makima has a contract set up with the Prime Minister of Japan. This shouldn't shock you. Devils can make contracts with humans in exchange for something, and Makima is a control devil. So what is her contract, and why does this make people fear her even more? Simply put, her contract with the Prime Minister of Japan means that in exchange for working for the country of Japan, she's able to transfer any fatal damage, life-threatening illnesses, or any type of ailments that she might have to some random unlucky Japanese citizen. Let that sink in for a second. Say if you get the drop and you shoot Makima in the headshot doesn't kill her. It kills some random person eating ramen at a ramen stand. If you blow up her body, some random person riding a bike will get their body blown up. If you poison her, some random mother somewhere dies of poison. This should make you look at the moment where she entered in that drinking contest with Aki so much differently, because some unlucky fellow in Japan ended up dying from alcohol poisoning that Makima likely got in that moment right there. Now, Makima also has the standard devil abilities like blood consumption to regenerate her body, and if she dies, she will be reincarnated like the other devils, which we do see is the case at the end of part 1 of Chainsaw Man. However, to boil Makima down to just having Hack's abilities is to do her a gross injustice. It's not just the power control and force manipulation that makes you have to worry about Makima. She's also really strong, and by strong I mean really physically strong. Whereas other devils got cut to pieces when Denji transformed into the Chainsaw Man, Makima was strong enough that she shattered the chainsaws of the Chainsaw Devil, and she was able to briefly pressure Pochita during their battle. Makima isn't a slouch when it comes to hand-to-hand combat either. She doesn't throw down fisticuffs every single time, but she's more than proficient in the art of combat on her own to make her both deadly in hack, skill, and power. She just doesn't like to get her hands dirty, but she can get them dirty if she needs to. That's why over on my Naruto Explained YouTube channel, I've been calling a Boruto character named Ada another version of Makima, because the similarities in the characters and their powers, preventing them from knowing what true love is and true affection, to their ability to gather knowledge, to their manipulative nature, to their power to control in general. There's a lot of overlap between these two characters, and in this new generation of shonen antagonists, these are two characters who are two of my absolute favorites because they embody the spirit of a femme fatale so well in a battle shonen, which tends to be more so testosterone driven. So seeing women in this light being equally sexy as they are deadly and be major threats to the protagonist of the story is something that's so refreshing. Not saying I don't like Shigaraki or Lucius from My Hero Academia and Black Clover respectively, but this is different in a good way. I love what we're seeing right here. Now, moving back to Makima, the final reason why everyone's afraid of her is her personality. She's what happens when you have a sexy woman who knows she's sexy, and most importantly, knows how to make herself appear sexy to people, even those who might look at her and say, you just don't do it for me attraction wise. Attraction for men tends to come down to physical attraction. You're either hot to a man or you're not. There's no in between. But Makima understands people to a point where she knows how to highlight her personality and her features to appear just attractive enough, and her manipulation and seduction is high enough to bypass that initial wall where someone who might not be into her at first eventually falls for her. Makima doesn't hesitate to make herself the prize in order to manipulate her targets. She teases Denji with romantic pleasure, sexual experiences in order to get him to do her bidding. While Denji is unnaturally horny, even for a 16-year-old kid, she's able to pull this off on grown adults as well. Makima weaponizes her sexuality and uses it to both gather intel, leverage, and to build a fascination with her to a point where if she has a goal that she wants to walk towards, she'll be able to make people fall in love with her willingly and lay themselves down literally on the road to her goal. Also, Makima can step on them in the process because Makima's just that damn good. We have people literally barking for her. Again, bark for Makima. Sometimes the things you fear in this world aren't as dangerous as, say, the boogeyman. Sometimes the things you should fear the most have the prettiest smiles that you might have ever seen, which is why Denji and Makima as a protagonist and a antagonist respectfully work together so well from a narrative perspective. There are two sides of the same coin, and in that retrospect, I think Fujimoto was brilliant in the way that he wrote this. However, that's gonna be it for my Chainsaw Man video. Click here to watch more Chainsaw Man content, or click here to watch these other anime videos you see on the screen right now.